Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel, and welcome back to Midtown USA. This is our fourth episode, episode number 4, and welcome back to the madhouse that is this farm and these maps and my channel and everything else. I appreciate you guys stopping by and saying hello and hanging out with me, checking out my Discord server, following us over on Discord, not Discord, yes, Discord, but also following us over on the Three Dudes Gaming Network, as well as PCSG, as my accelerator pedals push out almost underneath my feet here. I need to get that back situated, but I appreciate you guys coming out and hanging out, and just to kind of do things a little different. I'd just like to say thank you all so much for watching, and if you all would be so kind as to check out all the other wonderful YouTube folks that are my friends that produce wonderful content. Down below the video you'll find links to guys like Eustace Pharmer, Reefy 1952, Farmer Klein, Doug Zorley, etc. The list goes on. So do check those folks out, check out their channels, show them a little bit of love. They're all working very hard for you, even though it appears that I'm not working as hard as they might be, because I'm making mistakes. And I need to, one thing I need to do, and I will attempt to try to do this over the holiday break, I think, is try to remap my my keys, the buttons that I use to turn on and turn off GPS, as well as raise and lower, say for instance the seeder or the cultivator or the plower or whatever, are right next to each other on my Logitech G27 shifter. And I sometimes, if I'm not looking at the shifter, I kind of have my hand setting over there, and I use the shift lever for my shuttle control, so forward and reverse. And so if I'm kind of not looking where my fingers are and where where obviously my hand is on the gear knob itself for forward and reverse, and then I hit the buttons with my fingers, and sometimes if I'm not paying attention and I don't see where my fingers are, I will hit the wrong button. So my apologies. But hope you all are having a wonderful day, and thank you all again very much for coming back for another episode. Now we are in the same game day that we were in for episode number 3. It is just after lunch, so we have stopped briefly for a very quick lunch. Obviously, this time of season, we don't have the luxury of going off down to the local diner or the cafe or whatever the case might be. And it's basically right back to work, and oftentimes we're working, driving a tractor with one hand, and maybe steering with our knees, and eating a sandwich in the other. So just certainly bear with us as we basically trudge along through all the tasks that we need to do on this busy farm to get everything ready for our fall planting, our fall harvest, and everything. So this field we fertilized and we plowed, used AI to do most of that. If you remember, I told you all that the fertilization had the New Holland T8 pulling the fertilized spreader, the big one, the dual axle fertilized spreader. And at the bottom of this hill, his very first run, he actually flipped it, so we lost quite a bit of fertilizer on the ground, but nonetheless we recovered from that and everything. So more realistic mod does affect AI as well, it appears. Maybe that's not such a good idea, but it is what it is, and we'll just make the best of it as the best that we can. Let me grab a screenshot here just a moment, and I'll be right back with you. I've had to kind of set a new rule for myself with regards to my screenshots for my thumbnails, that if I don't get those things when I think about it, and you generally fairly close to the beginning of the episode, then I end up forgetting to grab the thumbnail screenshot, and then I end up having to either basically come back off camera sort of after I've already stopped filming and basically set that up, because I do like for my thumbnail screenshots to be something related to what it is that we are doing on the farm. You know, some folks put a little clickbait out there and make you think that it's about one thing when the episode is about something else. Not that any farm sim folks would do that, but you know how it goes on YouTube. So anyway, I try to remember to do that, and I've got that out of the way. So that is one task that I do not need to do, thankfully. So I hope everyone is having a wonderful day, and again, I hope you guys are enjoying this series. As far as I know, and I'm recording this episode on the weekend of the 16th of December, this map has yet to be released. It should be released through FSUK. That seems to be the host that will be hosting this map once it is released. I really, also at this particular point in time, I'm not sure sort of what the time frame is for its release. I know based on Farmer Klein's review of this map, well, maybe not his review of this map, but I know that when he started his Let's Play on this map, I know he was saying that the release was more or less pretty much imminent and very, very soon. So of course he started his series maybe a week or two or more before I did, and so it still hasn't been released, but I don't really know other than the fact that it has not been released. That's all the information that I really have about it. I do know that ccs101 is watching, and we forgot to plow that over there. I do know that ccs101 is watching my videos, and I appreciate having him stopping by the channel, so thanks for that. So maybe he will comment as to perhaps what the time frame is for this being released, but I'm still going off of what Farmer Klein has said, and he believes that it's pretty much any day now. I think that this is the version of the map that I'm playing is more or less the final release version. Maybe it was just needing just a bit of testing, and perhaps it's in the process of being certified through FSUK and all that good stuff. So I would hope that it wouldn't be too much longer for you all. So obviously, with it only being released, at least right now, through FSUK, this would be only for PC. So what we're going to do, since our hired help seemed to have basically forgot to plow that small section of field over there, is we're going to go ahead and more or less go with what our plan was for this particular episode, and that is go ahead and cultivate this field. We have chosen to cultivate it just to smooth things out just a little bit, and we're going to go back to the main farm as soon as we get up to the top of the hill, and then at the end of the field, and go ahead and go and take the big bud and the cultivator back, and we're probably going to grab maybe the other big bud, or maybe the Challenger, the tracked Challenger, which is also connected to a seeder, and we'll bring it back up here, and we're going to seed canola. Let me grab my notes here. Yes, we're going to put canola in fields 10 and 11. So 11 is that behemoth of a field over there. So that's going to be canola as well. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of planting things very much the way that I did things on either Westbridge Hills or on Ringwoods, which was basically Stevie's variation of this map, and kind of doing things that way, just kind of as I remember it. This was always a field that I planted in canola. I try to keep my fields grouped together a little bit, so that when it does come time to harvest a field, at least my logic is that you know, obviously this is a much smaller field, so regardless of whether we start in this field or we start in the larger field really doesn't matter at that particular point in time. We've got our combine, we've got the grain header up here, we've got our tippers, we've got all that kind of stuff. And so it just kind of makes sense to group our fields that are of similar crop type or the same crop type together, so that that way, if we were to choose to harvest this field first, go ahead and turn GPS off. If we were to consider harvesting this field first, then basically, obviously, that's probably not going to fill up an entire tipper of material, and then we would get started right on the other field. So I think what I'm going to do is, after we run over that stop sign, and we didn't actually, my brakes held, I think I'm going to very quickly here, and we'll probably just edit the video right quick, and I'm going to get the hired worker started cultivating the big field, and I think that's kind of what we will do. So I'll be right back with you once we get this all set up. Alright, well, since this is a bit smaller of a field, we are going to go ahead and use the Amazon seeder here for this job, instead of bringing out the big bud and that big seeder. So we're going to just go ahead and head on up there in this outfit, and that should be sufficient. And then more than likely, once we get this task done, that'll be pretty much the end of this episode. I think we're looking at about 13 minutes in at this particular point in time. And of course, we've got our hired worker cultivating the big field over here, field number 11. So we probably will not get to that field in this game day. We've got other things that we need to do on the farm, plus we need to kind of spread out our work anyway, obviously, because we don't want to do so much in the sort of opening stages of the maps where we don't have anything to do. Tomorrow, obviously, we're certainly looking forward to that really that really warm day. Gosh, we've got 101 forecasted for the high tomorrow. Which, again, I know I say this. I've said this before. I will say it again. This is just unprecedented. This is basically uncharted territory for me. Playing a map where I've got temperatures this warm, 101 degrees. I mean, that is, folks, that is the kind of temperatures that I sort of grew up in as a kid living in Texas, and of course, Texas still has those kind of temperatures even now. So the last summer that I lived in Dallas was the summer of 1998. And we had something like 45 consecutive days of above 100 degrees, something like that. And I think I've told the story about I was working in a support center. I was a manager of a support desk that supported HP products and a few other. We were sort of an outsourced call center, support center, and I was working the evening shift during this particular summer, the summer of 1998, before I moved to Denver. And I would often leave the office sometimes around 11 o'clock midnight. I was the third shift manager, and oftentimes when I would pass by the Bank One building there in Dallas, they had an outdoor thermometer readout, and it would still be, 95 degrees at 11:30 midnight at night, just unbearable. And of course the humidity is extremely high as well. So again, just really impressed with these temperatures, and keeping in mind this is spring. This is representing early spring. So I guess in my mind, early spring we would be probably in the March time frame. Perhaps March, April ish time frame, and seeing a 101 degree day. I don't know if that's 100% accurate. Again, I think this map is kind of positioned to be maybe in like Missouri, Iowa area, something like that. They may not be seeing temperatures quite that warm on a regular basis. I suppose anything is possible, but still, I'm just very impressed with the geo that's built into this map, and quite enjoying the realism levels of play that we're seeing here, and even looking at the days where it's raining, in game day 9, 79 and 50. Now that's pretty, that could be pretty accurate for, obviously that's late spring, so that could be like May into very early June, obviously. And we've got a rainy day, so the temps are a little bit cooler. But looking at Thursday, game day 4, still a rainy day, but still 91 degrees, and that also is relatively accurate. And of course, the humidity would just be nearly unbearable with the fact that it had rained, the night before or the morning or whatever. Those are typically things that we just have to endure, as much as we often pray for rain and everything, especially there goes the train, and we can hear the train coming through the valley. There, can't see it, but we can hear it. Anyway, oftentimes, we pray for rain because our crops need it, and our yards need it, and our flowers need it, and trees need it, and all those kind of things. But oftentimes we suffer for that for many days, and even do so here in Denver. The humidity, obviously, it being a mile high in altitude, mile high above sea level, our humidity is quite low because the air is much drier here. But when we have rain, and especially if we're having a relatively warm or hot summer, I would say, certainly we don't really see a lot of days where we have temperatures in the triple digits, but we do usually hit 100 at least once or twice a year. I don't know if we did this last summer. I don't recall that we did. I don't remember hearing about from our weather forecasters or anything like that. Usually they'll make a pretty big deal about that when we do hit 100 degrees. But in any event, when we do have rain that is around days that we have really high temperatures, where I would say it's north of 90 degrees, then certainly the feel-like temperature is muggy and certainly much warmer than perhaps what it reads on the thermometer. So I'm curious as to something. You guys are watching this video on Thursday the 21st of December, and I know at one point in time I said I was going to stop telling you guys or forecasting when these videos were going to edit, but I've got a small backlog of videos that I'm working with, and I kind of have my plan for the holiday weeks that make up, the week before Christmas and the week between Christmas and New Year, because my wife and I are going to be out and about quite a bit during that week between Christmas and New Year because we're actually off from work. And so I've been working to essentially get the videos that I believe are going to play during that time frame, getting those edited and uploaded, queued up more or less, so that I don't have to worry about editing and uploading videos during that week. I do plan to record some videos during that time frame and maybe to continue to further my backlog, but I'm basically predicting that I'm not going to have a lot of time to edit and or upload. I may be able to edit some videos, but I may not be able to get them all uploaded again, just because of the schedule that I think that we're going to have going on. So anyway, again, you guys are watching this the week before Christmas. Just a few more days, it'll be Christmas, and I hope you all are all ready for that. But Farmer's Dynasty came out in early access just a few days ago, and I'm recording this episode on the weekend of the 16th, so I believe it came out on Wednesday or Thursday. And I'm curious if anybody has purchased that game. Now, of course, it's early access. It's an early access beta that's available through Steam. I forget how much it costs right now. I don't have the Steam page pulled up, but I do know that there is, I think, a 10% discount if you purchase before maybe the 21st of December, so it's possible that today, the day that you're watching this video, might be the last day that the sale goes. But I'm curious if any of you have purchased that game, that early release beta game, and or if you are planning on it, or if you're just going to kind of, maybe like me, sit back and watch and listen and see. Oh, there goes the 127 train. I told you they go by pretty frequently. But anyway, I'm curious as to if any of you guys are planning on purchasing that title. Here are my thoughts, and I certainly don't want my judgment to cloud your judgment, or I don't want my opinion to cloud your judgment, is what I guess I should say. I'm planning a wait and see, to be quite honest. I am still slightly gun shy after my experiences with cattle and crops. You know, it's not necessarily that I'm in a situation where I don't have the money to purchase Farmer's Dynasty. I do. I sort of allocate myself a little bit of a budget for things that might be DLC or a scenery add-on for Flight Sim, something like that, and I kind of allocate myself a budget each month that I can spend on those kind of things. And to be quite honest, there's really nothing on the Flight Sim side of things that that I am, you know, interested in right now. So it's kind of like it could be one of the things that I could spend my pennies on if I wanted to. But again, after my experience with cattle and crops, and you know, not really knowing what's going on with that particular title, and not being impressed with the early release, and sort of knowing that, you know, here we are, the full-blown game, according to the cattle and crops team, the full-blown game should have been out by now already. So they've missed all their milestones, and I don't know if that was just, you know, overzealous on their part, or you know, if they really truly thought that they could meet those commitments, or if they were just trying to steer folks in the direction of the early access to generate some money and some enthusiasm and all that kind of stuff. But whatever the case might be, I am still just a little bit gun shy on that. Now, also, I mean, we've had quite a bit of farm agriculture, I call them agricultural based simulation games, because I don't want it to get confused with when I say farm sim, I don't want that to be confused with the Giants product. But there's been, you know, quite a few agricultural based simulation games that have come out in the last 12 to 18 months, and they've pretty much all been a bust, especially if you compare them to Giants, Farm Sim 15 or 17. And perhaps that's unfair, but I think that that's just the way it goes. I mean, when you go to the grocery store and you're sitting there and you're trying to choose between, and I'm just going to use ketchup as an example. You're trying to choose between Hunt's, Heinz, Del Monte, or the inexpensive store brand. You know, your results are going to vary, and people have individual tastes. And by the way, mine is usually always Heinz. I usually always go with Heinz when I can. But you know, your results are going to vary, and so with these games, because they all have an agricultural, farming theme to them, it's natural to compare them to the Giants product. And from what I have seen of Cattle and Crops, which I own, but I have only spent about an hour messing about with it when it first came out for early access, and I got so frustrated with the whole control situation, and with I was really disappointed at that particular point in time in the product, and I just sort of said, well, I'm just gonna, you know, I took it off my hard drive because I didn't want it on there. And I'm just kind of in a wait and see mode to see what happens. Now, I didn't do the others. There was a couple of other farming titles that have come out in that period of time, and even before Cattle and Crops came out. and I never purchased those. I have watched other YouTube folks talk about those and showcase those on their channels, but I myself did not purchase and do not own those titles. But they also are sort of flops as compared to giants. And as I have said before, I only need one agricultural based simulation game on my hard drive. I doubt very seriously if if cattle and crops were to get their act together and produce something to the level that they have told us that they were going to do, I was fairly comfortable in saying goodbye to giants, hello cattle and crops, because again, I only just need one agricultural based simulation game. It's not like I would I don't think I would enjoy having multiples. It's just the way that I am. I would rather just focus on one and know that it was know that it was best of breed kind of thing, and go with it. So and of course, my opinions and my judgment and everything doesn't necessarily that doesn't need to reflect on what you choose to do. But I'm just curious as to whether or not you're gonna try it. You're gonna wait and see like me, or whatever whatever your plans are, whatever your thoughts are on this. And I'm gonna scoot over just a little bit because off camera I'm gonna go down and grab the plow and plow that little section field there, because we want maximum yield on our crops, and we're not going to get that unless we plow that small section. But anyway, again, your thoughts. I'd be interested to hear from you on those things. You can either leave your comments down below the video, or head over to Discord and catch me over there and tell me what you're thinking. I like the concept of what I've seen with Farmer's Dynasty. I like the social interaction with other the other farmers. I like the fact that that there are other things to do that you need to do in order to keep your farm running, because let's face it, those are all things that must be done in the real world. I watch several real world farmers that produce content on YouTube, and their videos are about farming or raising cattle or ranching or whatever the case might be, but they also have a lot of other projects that they have to do on their farms. They need to repair their barns, they need to repair their equipment, they need to repair fences, build fences, all this kind of stuff. And I like that general concept, and I think that would actually be very, very cool. And I would say that I hope that Giants would basically see this, and I hope that Giants would essentially say, we believe that this is something that our customers want, and therefore, as a result of that, we're going to begin to incorporate some of these things in. And I think I talked a little bit, perhaps ad nauseum, in episode number 2 about the fact that I wish that Giants would incorporate more of the mods that we love, especially like Seasons, for example, into the base game, because let's face it, farming and Seasons are sort of they go hand in hand. So anyway, let me know your thoughts, and I'll probably talk about Farmer's Dynasty from here a few times over some of these videos, just because I am watching a few folks that are showcasing Farmer's Dynasty on their channel. So it's possible that I could get enticed in. I know that Eustace Pharmer is considering doing a couple of episodes, maybe a very small let's play on it. I believe he owns it. I think his feelings on that title are pretty much centered around what my feelings are on it. It's kind of a wait and see, and at this particular point in time, I think we're of the opinion, he's of the opinion, especially since he actually owns the game, and I think he's just of the opinion that as it stands right now, Giants doesn't really have anything to worry about. But you know, things could change, and hopefully things will. I mean, competition is good, and I think that if anything, having some competition, having Giants need to take a look at what others are doing and how its customers, or how any customers are basically looking to these titles, and what they're talking about. You know, Giants should basically watch some of these channels that are doing previews on it, and perhaps listen to the enthusiasm. Daggerwin is one that has been a long time farm sim, Giants farm sim YouTuber, and you know, I think he's quite impressed with the potential that Farmers Dynasty could bring to the simulation, to the agricultural-based simulation gaming genre. But you know, I think he also recognizes that there's some challenges ahead, and I'll just leave it at that. So anyway, thank you all so very much for tuning in for episode number 4 of Midtown USA. We will return at some point on the schedule with episode number 5, and of course, you're going to be seeing some Thornton Farm episodes. And do check YouTube when you have time. On Sunday, Christmas Eve, I am going to be releasing a Christmas message. It's not going to be a video or anything fancy like that, because quite honestly, I don't have a map that is situated in the wintertime at this particular point in time. But I do have a message that I'm going to send to you all, and I would appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, when you have time, it'll probably be posted fairly early on Christmas Eve, Sunday, the 24th of December. So again, thank you all so much for watching. After the Christmas message, there will not be a video on Monday, Christmas Day, the 25th of December, but we will resume with, or I plan to resume with Thornton Farm on Tuesday, the 26th. That's Boxing Day for those who live in those countries that celebrate that day, and then we'll have some Midtown USAs, and then so on and so forth. And most likely, it won't have an episode on New Year's Day, or maybe we will, because there is a saying that what you do on New Year's Day, you will do throughout the year, and you will be quite successful with it. So oftentimes, you know, I guess if I'm thinking about that, if I put a video out on New Year's Day, it means that I'm going to have success, and I'm going to have lots of videos that are going to come out throughout the new year, throughout 2018. So perhaps we will put a video out on that particular day, just for that very reason. But until then, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for sharing my videos, for liking my videos, and thank you for subscribing. If you're new to the Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel, please hit subscribe. I appreciate that. That's a good gauge for those of us who produce content to know that our stuff is appreciated and is wanted. And take good care of yourselves and each other, and come back again very soon. Bye-bye for now.